Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new vid of Fox Reacts. Today we're checking out a new video from Game Theory, The Monster in the Shadow. Now if I had to guess, this is probably about the ending of Poppy Playtime Chapter 2. Now, just gonna say it for now, quick spoiler! Do not watch if you have not seen nor played the game. Spoiler! Oh, if you don't want spoilers, just mute me if until I go okay? Just watch for the hand. Alright, so at the end of chapter 2, after defeating Mommy Longlegs and getting her stuck in the grinder, and watching her die, we see from under the door behind her, this weird metallic yet bone arm crawl out, grab her, and then drag back in. And then the door slams shut. And what people have already theorized is that we know that the hand belongs to prototype 1006, but we also think that it will be taking the bodies of the defeated monsters, such as Mommy Longlegs, to rebuild a new body. Now, I'm done saying that. You see the hand? Let's go.
It's been so long. So good to see you again. Well, not good, really. Don't say anything. Mommy knows. You thought you could just walk right in here, didn't you? As if nothing ever happened.
Look, we're just here to get a paycheck or to find our friends.
Well, they're all dead, all of them. And you did that. Tried to live knowing that. For whatever brief time you're
What the hell?
But hey, that's just a theory,
Where did the
right?
web come
A theory.
Where did the web come from? She's not actually.
Hello, Internet.
Moving on,
Welcome
just
to
a bit.
Game Theory, the show that's been popular for 11 years but still hasn't landed a movie deal. Don't know why I felt like mentioning it here. On a completely unrelated note, a few weeks ago we finally saw the release of Poppy Playtime Chapter 2, Flying a Web. And this thing was longer than a tech demo, so hey, big wins over Part 1. But no, the team wasn't content to stop there. Poppy Playtime's newest chapter went above and beyond, requiring players to master not just one, but 2 different gameplay styles. Whack-a-mole and Simon Says.
No.
Blue! Yellow! Violet! Every game is required to have a Simon Says segment for some reason.
I'm of course being facetious about the whole thing. This new chapter actually offered a lot of awesome stuff. Cool puzzles, thrilling chases, and an oversized plush toy failing to pull a lever.
Huh.
The animation
It's
is so adorable.
kissy missy.
I could sit here and watch that all day. Oh, and there are also collectible trophies now. Really challenging collectible trophies that'll push you to the limits of your gamer senses.
Any secret trophies or anything that we see up here?
Any secret trophies?
The hand?
But we all know why we're really here. It's not for the gameplay innovation or the collectibles. It's for the hidden notes and cryptic clues. Ladies and gentlemen, we have ourselves some lore to decipher. And spoiler alert, Poppy isn't who we thought she was. First, here's what you need to know to understand today's theory. Poppy Playtime Chapter 1 focused on us, the player, returning to an abandoned toy factory in order to save some employees that went missing there 10 years ago. We're told via a mysterious note that we have to find the flower. Several puzzles and one giant Muppet chase later, we find the flower in the form of a giant wall mural of a Poppy. Inside is a replica of a house and a doll named Poppy Playtime, locked away inside of a glass case. And of course, we set her free without a second thought because players in video games have never seen a horror movie before. Anyway, Chapter 2 picks up immediately afterward. Poppy agrees to help us activate a train that'll help us get out of the factory. So much for wanting to help save those missing employees. But hey, if a creepy talking doll starts offering me ways to not be around the creepy talking doll, I'm gonna take that offer. But of course, things are never quite that easy. Mommy Longlegs, a giant stretchy toy spider, takes Poppy hostage and forces us to play 3 minigames in her game station in order to unlock each part of the train's code. Eventually, we break out of her games, which causes her to go complete sicko mode and chase us through a narrow escape sequence. Where have I seen something like that before? In the end, she gets caught in a grinder and her remains are dragged away by a mysterious claw. We rescue Poppy, get on the train, but surprise, surprise, she betrays us, crashing the train and forcing us even deeper into the factory. So those are the highlights from the chapter, but we're still left with a lot of overarching questions. Who are we? Where are these missing employees we're so concerned about? What's the true nature of the toys? And who's secretly pulling pulling the strings behind all of this? Well, I
Prototype?
think I have the answers to each and every one of those questions, and the last one is probably the best place to start. As I just talked about, after defeating Mommy, we see her remains get dragged away by a mysterious claw.
Nope.
No, not Burn Trap's claw,
Thankfully,
but
no.
also, yeah, kind of Burn Trap's claw.
No,
You see,
not
the
really.
hand we
It's
see
too
pull
long.
Mommy away is very different from all the other designs that we've encountered in the game so far. Most of the toys that we fight are brightly colored, made of plastic or fur, and, you know, look like actual toys. This thing, though, is dark, mechanical, and could poke your eye out. It's like
And
a
it has
Erector set on
bones.
steroids. And that's not all. If you zoom in and enhance the image of the claw, you can actually make out that there's organic material
Why are the
mixed in
bones
there.
so
Bones and maybe
twisted?
even some veins mixed in with the metallic parts. So yeah, the comparison to Spring Trap, Burn Trap, call them whatever you want, it isn't that much of a joke. But what is
Why
this
don't we just call him
biomechanic
Afton?
hybrid doing within the context of Poppy? Well, back in Chapter 1, we discovered the final VHS tape which cataloged the results of Experiment 1006, nicknamed the Prototype.
Boom.
Final log. In relation, experiment 1006. The prototype. Coordination and cooperation is evidently within his skill set, as well as the skill set of all other experiments
Look
of
at
his
this.
type.
This, along with a death screen that said Experiment 1006 isn't he wonderful, led us to
Boom.
believe in a previous theory that our big blue boy Huggy Wuggy was the prototype, since, you know,
And
he's
he's
kind of
not.
the only character that we met in Chapter 1, Occam's razor and all that. However, take a look at the hand on the
He's not,
TV
though.
screen that we see during that VHS recording. Look familiar? We see that hand appear again in yet another VHS tape in Chapter 2.
Log
And
code
boom.
08502. In relation, experiment 1006. The
Boom.
prototype. The prototype seems to possess an unprecedented level of intelligence,
Interesting.
beyond that of all other test subjects, as well as an alarming willingness to commit violence.
Committing
Experiment
violence.
1170
He
Huggy
wants to
Wuggy,
kill.
remains the optimal outcome due to his sufficient intelligence paired with maximum obedience.
Obviously, this outright tells us that Huggy isn't Experiment 1006, and that it's
Clearly.
instead the owner of this mysterious claw. So that's what the prototype is, but what makes it so special? Well, during that same
What if the
VHS
arm
tape, we
itself
also
is
hear
the
how the prototype
prototype?
takes apart an alarm clock and uses it to make a laser pointer. In short, it's smart and it's able to repurpose things, which would explain Mommy's concern in this moment.
What have you done? You make me part of you!
She's gonna be reused and
Yeah.
repurposed by this entity in order to help the monster escape.
Man, it
Kinda
doesn't
makes you
even have the
wonder if
lower
the veins
half,
and
it's
bones or
chest
how this
and
creature
one
was
arm.
originally designed, or maybe that's what happened to all the other missing employees. Their bodies were
Ooh.
added to the machine. It's interesting. In our last theory, we predicted
Yikes.
that Mommy Longlegs would be adding the bodies of dead toys to herself in order to become stronger. We were right about the concept, just looks like we were wrong about who it applied to. As for how
Right
this thing is gonna
concept,
wind up
wrong
looking,
target.
anyone remember Sid from Toy Story 1? Sounds like we might have
doesn't.
found one of his creations. So right now it looks like the prototype 1006 is
hold
going
on.
to be
We
our
got an ad.
overarching villain for the franchise,
Sorry.
taking pieces and
We're back.
parts of the other toys, and maybe even pieces and parts of other people to grow
Yep.
stronger. That being said, one toy that doesn't appear to
Edible.
have been added to the prototype yet is Huggy Wuggy. He may not have appeared explicitly in this chapter, but hints of him are hidden
DLC.
around. When you go into the chapter's water treatment room, if you look
Oh,
carefully,
look.
you can see some blue fur that's scattered around the pipes
Oh.
alongside trails of blood. This
And
appears to
matted
be the
as
room that
well.
Huggy fell through
Huh.
at the end of the last chapter, and would seem to imply that Huggy picked himself up and went full-on sus mode by venting away, waiting to return until
that
a
a
future
vent?
chapter. Which
Can't
honestly makes
tell.
sense. He can't die yet. He's basically the mascot of the franchise. Who even
Yeah.
cares about Poppy at this point? I mean, me. I do, because lore, but I feel like
Lore,
I'm
yes.
definitely in the minority on that one. Speaking of Poppy, let's talk about her, shall we?
Other
I
than
mean,
the
it
lore,
is her
she
name
has
on the
no
title
reason to
screen
be
after
here.
all. This isn't Kissy Missy Playtime or Cat Bee Playtime, you know? Well, mere hours after Chapter 2 came out, the fan community did what the fan community gonna do. They dug into the game files. And by doing so,
Data
they
mine.
discovered an early build of this chapter hidden away. And while the game itself is still basically
Oh.
the same, the end is where things get real interesting. Normally,
There we
you
go.
get on the train and Poppy gives you this sinister speech about how you're not allowed to leave. She betrays us and sends us hurtling
Yep.
deeper into the factory
Damn.
for reasons that are kept pretty darn vague.
Terrible things have happened. But I know
Oh,
that
boy.
whatever I need you to do, you're capable.
However, in the cut
Great.
version of this monologue, we actually get a bit more detail on her motivations.
You have so much potential. I know you came to find the ones who had disappeared all those years ago. But they're gone. They've been gone for a long time.
Ooh.
Terrible things have happened. And I am the cause.
Oh.
Being able to exist as a doll
Oh,
that has
dear.
killed
so many people.
Now, interpreting
would they
cut content
cut
is always
that?
going to be a tricky science. Do you use it? Do you not? How do you use it? Here, I'm only pointing it out because this seems to confirm one of our original theories, that Poppy is the reason all of this is happening. She literally
She was
says
the
that
false
because she
after
was
all.
able to exist as a doll, people died, which tells us two things. One, that she's been around since the very beginning. She knows about the experimentation that's being done on humans. She's witnessed it all.
He was.
I have seen everything.
Gonna say this right now, that's not the hand of the prototype, that's the hand of the other mother, the bell down from Coraline.
Yes, yes, FNAF, we hear you. You're very special. You did it first. Secondly, though, it seems to tell us that Poppy isn't who we originally thought. Loyal
Oh, here we
theorists
go.
will remember that last time we predicted that former employee Stella Graber was the person whose body and spirit were used to build Poppy. In Chapter 1, we found a VHS tape talking about her desire to stay young and her love of children, which all but seemed to
Yeah.
scream, make
No,
me into
no,
an
that would've
undying
been-
doll monster.
she
However,
became
after
Mommy
the clues seeded out in
Longlegs.
this
I
chapter,
remember
we
that.
know for a fact that she's no longer a candidate. When we first enter the game station, we're greeted by Stella's voice.
Hi kids, welcome to the game station. I'm Stella, and we've got 3 super
There it
duper
is.
fun games to play.
Her name also appears on the bottom of a document outlining how to test children using the various game station modules. Quote, give all reports to Ms. Stella Graber to sort through. So
Boom.
Stella was
There
clearly
it is,
involved with whatever experimentation was going on at Playtime Co. And since these experiments were started because the living doll Poppy existed in the first place, Stella can't be Poppy. In that same
Yep, there you
document,
go.
we also see references to Mommy Longlegs. Now, if you look closely at the Mommy Longlegs commercial that plays at the top of the chapter, you can see that it's dated 1991.
91.
Poppy was meant to be the first living toy developed back in 1950. Therefore,
look at
if
that.
Stella was alive around the time of Mommy Longlegs, then she couldn't possibly be inside Poppy. So if Poppy isn't
Boom.
Stella, then who is she? Well, early in Chapter 2, we visit Elliot Ludwig's office,
Here we
founder
go.
of Playtime Co. It's here that we learn that he experienced a tragic family loss sometime in the 1960s.
In
A
the
shame.
1960s, an unfortunate family death had pushed Ludwig down to his lowest.
This loss
Boom.
is what spurred him to work harder and build an empire around his toys. Now,
Oh, yeah.
it's not actually clear who this family
That
member
started
was. You would suspect his kid,
the
right? Kid
Playtime
dies
Co.
or is dying and he finds a way to make her into a living toy. Yeah, I am broken.
Oh,
I will
great,
put
here
you
we
back
go.
together. Thank you, FNAF. Go and do something else
Once
with your
again.
life. Make your lore more sensible. Stop trying to butt into other people's narratives, okay? Other people's very similar narratives.
What about making that
Anyway, as I
animated
was
movie?
saying, you would suspect that he's
Oh,
doing
never
this for
mind.
his kid, right? And that's who Poppy is. It's his daughter. But there's a wrinkle to that, and it's not coming from the game, but rather the game's website. You see, we know via a newspaper article
go.
hidden on the About section of Playtime Company's merch website that Elliot's wife divorced him in 1930. This means that if a child came from that relationship, that biological son or daughter would have been in their 20s or 30s when Poppy was created.
Yeah,
Seems
so-
a bit old, to be honest. The loss could have
Yeah,
been a grandchild.
what a
That's
loss.
definitely a possibility.
Oh,
But for
wait,
me, I think the most
grandchild.
likely option was that it was an adopted daughter. In Chapter 1, we see a lot of
Oh.
posters hanging on the walls talking about Playtime Co.'s adoption initiative.
That's
What if that
right.
program was
Forgot
initially
about
started
that.
because Elliot had an adopted child himself, and he wanted to bring that joy to other families, thereby modeling it in those
see
Playtime
now.
Company values. And
Right,
then, when
that's
his
right.
daughter dies or is suffering, he, has to find a way to put her back together. So his
And
adopted
thus
child
makes a
dies
doll.
tragically, and he tries something to revive her, probably by fusing her with Poppy. And it works. Something he does works. She's in the doll, but he's not exactly sure what he did. Might I suggest trying Remnant or Agony? Sorry, now I'm just going out of my way to
Sorry.
do it. Anyway, we know that he's unsure based on a note that we find in Elliot's office in Chapter 2. This note
Yep.
talks about Experiment 814, in which they tried to
Ooh.
bring rats back to life using the
Oh, yeah.
Poppy flower. My suspicion is that this is because he was somehow able to revive his daughter inside of Poppy, a
And
doll
thus
who we're
boom.
told has the essence of poppy flower built into her hair. This is also why we find Poppy hidden in a glass case. It's so his daughter can be preserved, protected, and also studied. It's
And
because he
without
saw
harm.
it was possible, and then he went on to repeat it, which is why he's so happy about his wonderful experiment 1006, the
Yep.
prototype. After nearly 200 additional experiments post
Oof.
poppy flowers and
Damn.
rats, this is where he finally cracks the code. He's brought things to life, but the prototype is too smart. It escapes and doesn't obey
yeah.
orders, sending the factory into chaos. This is
Wild,
why we hear that
violent,
Huggy Wuggy is actually the perfect creation,
edible.
because he's smart, but he's also obedient.
Experiment 1170, Huggy Wuggy.
remains the optimal outcome due to his sufficient intelligence
Very
paired
smart,
with maximum obedience.
but very loyal.
And that, my friends, is the story of how everything started at Playtime Co.
And
We
here
now know that
we
Elliot
are.
Ludwig's adopted daughter is likely the entity inside the Poppy doll, and that our overarching villain for the series is the prototype, the first successful recreation of that technology, of bringing...
And one thing to actually point out that we fans think that the prototype was actually made using Elliot Ludwig. Man, I can't say that last name. I always want to just say Ludwig. You know what? Screw it. Elliot Ludwig. That's who was used to make the
something
hand,
back
the
to life. A
prototype.
toy that steals and uses the pieces and parts of other things to make itself stronger. But there's still
Nice.
lots more to discover here. Who or what is inside the other toys? Are they employees or are they something else? What about the mysterious death screens that we see each time we die? What are they trying to tell us? If people are inside the toys, then what about the prototype? Is it someone important or is it just a random collection of people? And probably the biggest question of all, who are we in relation to all of this? I
That really
suspect
should
that
be
I
the
may have
first
figured
thing
out
we
our
answer.
character's name and possible role in the company, but answers to that and more will have to wait for next time just because I have a few other things that I want to double check inside the game first.
well,
So make
you
sure
heard
you
'em.
grab pack that subscribe button to guarantee that you see our second part of Chapter 2's coverage when it comes out here in a week or two. And
Yeah,
until
alright.
then, remember, it's all
Just a
Oh, that
a
actually scared me a
game
little.
theory. Thanks for watching.
Well, that wasn't supposed to happen. Well, anyway, while we get all this settled, gonna go ahead and give the outro. So, I want y'all to remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Down in the description will be a link to the original video, so remember to support MadPat and all of his theaters crew in everything he does, and I'll see all of you folks next time. Peace.